Hello and good morning. This is week 2 of the Global Read Aloud, and we are here to talk a little bit about this wonderful book called StuntBoy in the Meantime, written by one of my favorite authors, Jason Reynolds. And this book is also illustrated by a very new to me illustrator, but I've greatly enjoyed getting to know his books. The illustrator is Raul III. So let's go ahead, let's dive into this week's readings, and let's share a little bit what we are wondering about and what we notice. So we started off here on page 36, or 46 rather, and we're in this space called the meantime. Now, in the meantime usually just means like while you're waiting for something, right? But what's interesting is that we have here the way that Jason writes it, he puts a space in between sometimes when it's Portico talking, mean space time. Like they're being mean time. Like his parents are meantime. They're in meantime. So he's in the meantime too. And I think that's really interesting. I noticed that as I was reading the book. And you can see that there's a lot of arguing during the in the meantime. So we have that going on, and you can start seeing that Portico is just, he's looking upset about what's happening at home, that his parents are arguing about this chair, that they're arguing about splitting things up. Now they're all of a sudden they're arguing about a photo frame that Portico's father made, but then gave it to his mother as a gift, but she never used it. She never put a photo in it. But yet she wants it, but he wants it. We don't know which apartment it's going to go into. Okay. And then they tell him to leave in the mean space time. So now he's in this spot of feeling the frets again. And so he's talking to Zola, and that's where we find ourselves with Zola and him. And Zola leads him into this other imaginary space. And Zola's a really great friend of helping him to be able to push pause. And that's what I've noticed, is that Zola is kind of like that inner voice that we need sometimes, that helps us find that calm when we feel the frets. So she does that by helping Portico start imagining this Super Space Warriors episode. And it starts resembling a little bit of what's happening in Portico's life, but then he takes it really seriously and then he dashes out. And I think that Zola as a friend is really good at trying to help him find these connections, right? And help him feel connected and grounded when he's having these frets. But then all of a sudden, Portico once again embraces this alter ego that he's invented, right? This stunt boy. And what does that mean? What does he do? Well, in this instance, it means that he feels like he has to go save the superheroes. In this instance, he feels like he has to go save his parents. And so here he is, he's trying to help, and he's got to wait on in the elevator, and it's comical because you can see that his heart is there. But then again, it doesn't always turn out the way he wants. Okay? So now we've got Portico, and he's feeling the frets, and all of a sudden, we're shown again a little bit more information about Herbert Singletary. And we learn a little bit about who Herbert Singletary was when he first came to their apartment building. And what's interesting is that Herbert was, I don't know, there at Skylight. What do you think? What do you remember? What did you notice? I noticed that he was alone. Did you notice that? I also noticed that Portico, at the very beginning, actually tried to make friends with him. I think that Portico right there was being his true self. Not StuntBoy, but his heart was in the right place, trying to reach out and build a bridge. But Herbert wasn't going to put up with that. He wasn't ready in his space to make that new friend. And look what happens. Here, after he's tried to share potato chips with him and make friends with him, Herbert goes, "My name is Herbert Singletary. If you ever call me little Herbie again, you're going to pay for it." And look, he's pushed Portico off the bench outside. And Portico goes, "Pay for what? I don't think I should have to pay nothing for getting knocked on the ground or get my chips ate. Plus, I don't have no money anyway." What does that mean? He's got to pay for something. Why do you think Herbert did that? He was new. He didn't know Portico. I have a lot of wonders there. Do you too? I wonder what's going on in Herbert's life that's making him react that way. Have you ever tried to become friends with someone who's new? Did it go well? Did you offer to share something with them? Or did it go like how it went for Portico with Herbert? Why do you think your experience was successful or unsuccessful? Can you relate to Portico and Herbert's experience? Later on in this section that we're reading, we've got Zola and Portico hanging out, and they're going to go on a job, like visit, about selling lawn chairs with Mr. Bronner, Zola's dad. So they go all the way up to the 10th floor. And what's interesting is that the only time that Portico has ever gone up to the 10th floor is to run. It's not really to go, he's not ever been into the apartments and hung out with people. So what's interesting is that when they get up there, they meet Miss Morris, and he's got a different view. And here's what's interesting. If you've read the other books this week, the book this week in the picture book was called Another. It's written by Christian Robinson. And Christian here really pushes hard this idea about perspective. That what if you encounter another perspective and discovered another world? Well, here's my challenging thought and my connection that I saw between these two books. I'm wondering if there's some sort of connection here of us understanding perspective, in a sense that Portico from the top can see what's happening down at the bottom. It looks like tiny ants, but Herbert's down there. And we're leading into a possibility that there might be a different perspective of something that we don't quite see. And our main character hasn't quite gotten there yet either. I wonder what that could be. I wonder if the answer lies behind the half door where Herbert goes. I don't know. So they make the cell, and all of a sudden, StuntBoy, Portico, takes the lawn chair down the stairs. He always goes down the stairs, but up the elevators. And he goes back to try and save his parents. He's trying to be that superhero in there. Have you ever been a superhero with your parents and trying to help them solve a problem? How did it go? Did it look similar to what Portico's going through? Here's Portico. You can see an empty picture frame. There's Dad. There's Mom. Ooh. There's a lot going on there. The end of our time in this section, Portico goes back outside, and he meets up with Mr. Bronner and Lola, because once again, Portico's family says they need some space because they're going to work this out. So they tell him to go on outside with Mr. Bronner and get their snack. So he's back to in the meantime. So he's in this waiting space. But notice how, once again, notice what Jason's done. In the mean space time again. Mean time. Not mean time like waiting, but meaner time. Why do you think he did that? Portico's back outside. We get to know another neighbor that's outside there, sharing stories, Mr. Bronner. And that's when Zola picks up once again that Portico's got the frets. What does that mean again? Do you remember what the frets means? Then Zola does what she knows that how she can help. She launches back into another episode of Super Space Warriors. Notice how it looks very similar to mom and dad arguing, doesn't it? I noticed that. Did you? And that's when Portico once again decides he's got to go to the rescue. This time when he goes to the rescue, he's got the bag of chips and he blows them in his father's face. Parents drop the picture frame. Mom runs to the kitchen trying to help the commotion that Portico's caused, but it stopped the fighting. Gran, who seemed to have been asleep during this whole fight, all of a sudden is awake and chuckling. She asks if there were any chips left. What do you think's happening with Portico's family? Between his mom and dad? What do you think Gran's thinking? Why is she laughing? Why did Portico blow chips, salty chips, in his dad's eyes? Is that a good choice? What could he have done differently? Got a lot of wonders here. There's a lot of emotions going. This time on our discussions, you can see it was just me. And I hope that my discussions here, that you've paused, you've enjoyed some of these. I will tell you, I'm greatly enjoying this book. And I know that for many of you, some of these times work great, and other times they don't, and that's okay. I'm glad that we're making these recordings available so that you can still enjoy a great book. So always feel free to pause and launch into those discussions there in your room. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to read and talk with you again next week. Bye, friends.